Hello and welcome to Mabina TV. So for now, this is June the 25th of 2025, exactly 1 year after the Gen Z protests. This was the culmination of the day when lots of youth gathered on the streets of Nairobi to be able to put pressure on this government that basically it should deliver on its election promises. So this is June 25th, 2025, exactly 1 year since the Gen Z protests. Of course, what are the similarities? What are the differences? What is it going to take to be able to realize a change as the Kenyan youth, the Gen Z, did not achieve the change that they wanted. Basically, they wanted that there be a change of regime. It started with a protest against the punitive Gen Z taxes and the punitive finance bill taxes. But then, of course, it flew on and it became a clarion call that Ruto must go. So basically, the clarion call is that Ruto must go, but basically, Ruto is still the commander in chief, Ruto is still the president. So, of course, we could say the Gen Zs achieve certain metrics, but their ultimate aim, that is to remove President Ruto from power, it came up short. So, basically, what should we celebrate on this anniversary on June 25th? First of all, the political prisoners have said they will join the Gen Z protest. Political prisoners of the Moi era, remember, they were jailed because of and now they were put in the now torture chambers. In the now torture chambers, basically, you were in the now torture chambers, you were put in water, basically in the now house basement cells. Basically, it is that is a building where you go to get your passport. In the now house torture chambers, that's the building you go to get your passport. So these Gen Zs, those arrested were put in the basement cells with water reaching their neck. So basically, they were in the cold for the whole night, and this is what made some people, such as Charles Rubia, such as Kenneth Matiba, it made them basically become vegetables. And of course, you had Raila Odinga. Of course, Raila negotiated in other ways, and it's really sad to see that Raila Odinga underwent through that and came and supported William Ruto, basically someone who did not go that. William Ruto was in the YK92. This was the youth for Kano 1992. They basically were printing fake money in order to go to campaigns. They were printing fake money. So basically, you had William Ruto going to YK92. These are the people that destroyed the Kenyan economy. These are the people that really destroyed the Kenyan economy and made and basically made a mockery of the Gen Z of the protest against multi-party rule in Kenya. And of course, you had that is Moi Kibaki and Kenneth Matiba splitting their vote in 1982. So basically, they split their vote. That is Moi Kibaki and Kenneth Matiba. So basically, what will this 1 year anniversary of the Gen Z's? First of all, political maturity in Kenya. It demonstrates political maturity. The way the people are very peaceful and basically just wanting to be able to hold their government to account. And basically, you had President Ruto, really, he did not see it coming, his intelligence. He had dismissed the intelligence. Of course, you had the former deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, saying President Ruto did not pay heed to his intelligence. So if he had paid heed to his intelligence, then he would have known that these protests were oncoming. So basically, Ruto dismissed his own intelligence and he was about to be removed from power. So, of course, he proceeded to fire his entire cabinet except the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Sadia Mudavadi. So now, President Ruto is going to and so now President Ruto is going to face this 1 year anniversary of the Gen Z protest. So what does this portend for the 1 year anniversary of the Gen Z protest? First of all, political maturity has come of age. We can now protest. This was not there. We can now hold the government to account. Now, of course, some of the tax measures, punitive tax measures in the 2024 bill, finance bill, were sneaked back. But of course, you had people, we had names come up. You had Kasmal Makoure, you had Hanifa Hanifa Ahmed coming up, then you had Hanifa Adam coming up, then you had Morara Kebaso coming up, you have Wanjiku Stevens coming up. So names came up that were at the forefront. You had Masi Tarus coming up. So these names came up. You had these names coming up. So of course, Gen Z has no clear leader. Yes, that's true. And that's why they said you want to remove Ruto, but whom do you want to replace him with? That is what people are asking. Yes, you want President Ruto to go, but whom are you going to replace him with? Those are the questions that the Gen Zs are being asked. Yes, you want to remove William Ruto, but whom do you want to replace him with? But there needs to be no clear leader for now. This is a movement. This is not a revolution. It is fed from the ground up. It is fed from a million inflection points. It is fed. It will change. It will adapt. It will mutate. If we had a leader of the Gen Z, they would already have been compromised and they would have entered into an agreement with the Ruto regime. But of course, or maybe they would have been killed altogether. You never know the prospects of a Ruto regime. Basically, these are not reformists. These are not people that can sit down and basically and these are not people that can sit down and basically have a conversation with you, have a tea with you. So basically, they will have been kill or compromised. Or either of those, either kill or compromise. So we have no clear leader of the Gen Z protest. Yes, but even if we have no clear leader of the Gen Z protest, what are we going to do so that we can then enable this movement to go forward. Number one, the movement needs to be able to be fed from a million inflection points. So basically, it needs to be fed from the ground up. Let it not be a top-down approach. Let it be from the ground up. The people need to own this movement. And that is why we have no clear leader. That's why the Gen Zs have no clear leader. So when that happens, then basically the Gen Zs will be in a better place to be able to chart a new path forward and be able to call it as it is. So that for now, we are going to see, we are going to wait for the Gen Zs and basically just see how the Ruto regime will react to the Gen Z protest. So I know a lot of goods will be filled in the CBD, Nairobi CBD. They will pour goods onto the streets. You can't be sure. So I don't think it will be as successful as the last year Gen Z protest. So the Ruto regime will pour a lot of goods in the stadium. It will pour a lot of mercenaries in the stadium to be able to loot shops, to be able to loot businesses and then blame it on the Gen Z protest. I can't be, I am sure that that is what will happen. So basically, that is what is going to happen. The Gen Z protests are going to be I think will be peaceful on the part of the ANC. They just want to remember the people that were killed. There are people that were killed during the June 25th protest. They just want to remember those people that were killed. But on the part of the Ruto regime, they will pour a lot of guns into the they pour a lot of goods into the CBD, and then of course, and then you can't be sure that these people you can't be sure that these people are going to be able to, they are going to disrupt the Gen Z protest. And this is why I say we must be peaceful, the Gen Zs must be peaceful, they must be able to articulate their issues in a clear way. The issue are that you must stop the extrajudicial killings. You must stop the abductions. You must stop the forced disappearances. And of course, I think the citizens have launched a committee to look at these forced disappearances headed by Justin Muturi. Of course, Justin Muturi, his own son, was abducted. He had to make a phone call to President Ruto in order for his son to be availed. So basically, it seems there is a squad of 100 police officers that are basically uh, uh, have been assigned. They do not report to the IG, that is the Inspector General of Police. They don't report to the IG. They report to President Ruto, and basically they are reporting to President Ruto. So basically, this squad of about 100 police officers, they ensure that if you are going to be attacking the president, then basically they will abduct you, they will torture you. And basically, people that have been abducted, that have been tortured, those who managed to be alive, they come back and they are muted. They don't want to discuss that issue at all. So you can see how the forced abductions, how the forced disappearances are going. And of course, then there is report that President Ruto has improved, has hired about hundreds of bloggers in order to be able to have a crackdown, a dump down on the government protests, and basically dump down on the government, basically dump down on the narrative on the social media. So basically, that is posts that are criticizing President Ruto are being dumped down so that people don't get to see by bots. And then posts, those same AI bots are going to manufacture content that praises President Ruto, that they are going to say promises made, promises kept. That is what President Ruto is insisting. They are going to say promises made, promises kept. So we are going to see what these Gen Z protests are going to portend, and I think these Gen Z protests are going to be. I think these Gen Z protests are going to really mark 1 year since we saw the Gen Z protest. Nobody saw it coming. The opposition have said they are going to join the protest. The opposition, Malwa, Kalonzo Musyoka, I'm not sure about Rigathi Gachagua, the opposition members have said they will join the Gen Z protest, but I think maybe they will also attempt to own it, but I don't think it should be an opposition. This is just for the Genzies. The opposition, of course, has said they will also join the protest. The former political prisoners have also said that they will join the Gen Z protest. So, what do you think this 1 year anniversary of the Gen Z protest portends? This 1 year anniversary of the Gen Z protest, what do you think they portend? The Ruto regime has to go. I think it has failed on so many promises. Look at the university funding model. It is not working into the correct specification. Look at SAR is not working. Look at and the other main components of this Gen Z protest, they are not just working. The Ruto regime is failing on every metric. The promises made, promises kept attempt is just not working at all. And basically, this is why I say this country is going to the dogs, and the Gen Zs have seen it. They have seen that this country is going to the dogs, and this is why they're waking up, they're going to the streets, they're going to protest, and of course, we shall watch how this Gen Z protests go about, and this is how this country is going to the anarchy is creeping into this country. This is becoming a state of authoritarianism. And of course, you have the opposition have said they will join. So I don't know on what point of attachment will the interests of the opposition and the interests of the Gen Zs converge. But basically, this is going to be a movement that is leaderless. Of course, the opposition will attempt to take some of the credit for the pursuit of the Gen Z protest, and I think we shall wait to see what impact the opposition involvement in the Gen Z protest will be all about. But I think for now, this is 1 year anniversary. Let's have a minute of silence for those who lost their lives during the Gen Z protest in 2025. They literally opened their way so that we can have the freedoms that we enjoy, and they take over from those also who lost their lives in 1990s. In the early 1990s, who protested for multi-party rule in Kenya for the freedom to be able to speak those voices, even though many of them came up to say that if the river flows to the ocean, why attempt and change the course of the river? I think that is what some of them attempted to say, that if the river goes to the ocean, and then why change the course of the river? This is what some of them said. So they became conservative after some time. So basically, this Gen Z protests, let's pay a minute of silence to those who lost their lives during the Gen Z protest. So a minute of silence, please. So now we have paid our respects to those who lost their lives, not just for the Nyayo chambers. I think those who lost their lives, beginning those who fought for independence, people such as Wayaki Wahinga, and people such as Chief Koinange, those who lost their lives during the Gen Z protests, and of course, those who lost their lives during the people such as Tom Boyer, JM Karaoke, and of course, Robert Hugo, and many, many more. Basically, Pio Gamapinto, how could we forget him? So basically, this is a continuation of those people who lost their lives during this authoritarian rule. I think there has been authoritarian rule since Kenyan state was formed, since the fight for independence, and of course, the white man colonizer has been replaced by the black colonizer, and the black colonizer seems to be more potent than the white man. This black colonizer that brought independence seems to be more bloody, seems to be more potent than the white colonizers. So you can imagine our own people, people who have the same names as us, people who have the same surname as us, people who have the same skin color, who look like us. They are more potent. They are more dangerous than the white colonizers. So what can this say about black self rule? I think what can this say about black self rule, where people this black colonizer seems to be more potent than the white colonizer that left. They are more dangerous than the people who left because remember, whereas Mau had some frigate of weapons, so they were attacked because they had some weapons. That's how the Mau were attacked by the colonial administration. But then you have the whites, you have the Gen Z protests, police attacking unarmed protesters. So basically, this is how this country came to be. So basically, I think this black colonizer, I think this black colonizer, I think is more potent than the white colonizer, and this is how this country is heading to the dog. So basically, this is bye for now. Until the next episode, bye for now.